guys, it's me, Jenny, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. And all of the actors in this depiction are all fictional, despite of any appearance that they might have anything to do with people that might be based on reality. Anyways, um, let's talk about the Matrix energy and how you're gonna read energy. This is part two. If you missed the last video, just go back and watch it again. So we talked about the oracle. Okay, they are usually like a key maker, but on a bigger level, and they usually tend to have greater access. So they have access to more codes. They have um, just a bigger reach in the level that they're on. Okay, whereas the keymaker, think of as of the keymaker in the game as like a person who maybe they're like a guide, and they show you where you're gonna find like the next, um the next freebie, or the next whatever, the next opportunity, okay, the next thing, right? Or the next resource, or the next person that's going to open a door to something. That's why they're called key makers. Is can be benevolent, or they can be malevolent. And when they're malevolent, it's because you're meant to learn to really keep good boundaries with people, and they can really be scammers, greedy, needy. They want access to resources. They tend to have almost like a resetting energy, and it's usually the keymaker was a sentinel, but they weren't a good sentinel. Usually, if they're a malevolent keymaker, they were not a good sentinel. They might have been a corrupted sentinel. So yes, let's talk about that. Okay, so we have the oracle has the ability to heal you emotionally. They are usually marginalized, gay, uh, Indian, Asian, Black, Mexican. Okay, they might be white, but I've never met one that was white. Okay, they help you forgive. They usually help you with issues around grudges that you have, um, programs that you have within your system that don't let you move forward, or don't let you like grow. The oracle is very good at like unlocking these these programs and setting you free from them. Okay, so they have the ability to guide you. So if the oracle will say, I really think that, I see you struggling, and this career seems like it really stresses you out. Do you ever think about um, anything else you'd like to do with your life? And then usually they drop hints, they drop like Easter eggs, they drop a lot of like, um, basically, they have a lot of access to something called a sidestep program. Okay, sidestep programs tend to be like college. They can be, what's it called? What are these called? I've gone completely blank. It's those like beauty school. It'll come to me. Welding. Um, this kind of school, trade school. That's what it's called. Okay, so they have access to the sidestep codes. Is what I call these, sidestep code. Okay, so sidestep codes are where you basically you take a shortcut. Okay, and it can be a one and done, or it can be a, might take you a few years, but you get to the same career, as opposed to like having to struggle and climb up and be in a company for 20 years and all that. Because I know a lot of people that get to the top, but they've been working at the same company for like 30 years, and it's like, yeah, well, when you could have done it much more efficiently if you just go to trade school, college, or take on some kind of trade like beauty school. Okay. Sentinels. Sentinels are gatekeepers. They secretly protect you when they are benevolent. they will secretly protect you. And even if they're malevolent, their ability to protect others and set boundaries between people so that people are not like taking advantage of others is very, very much part of their code. You cannot be a sentinel if you are not there to protect. Okay, so that is the whole point of a sentinel. They cannot exist as a sentinel program if they don't actually carry out protecting others. So that is the only thing about them, is that when they do turn malevolent, it's because they have been corrupted. And they can be corrupted because they either have a gold digger in their life, and gold digger is an ID hijacker, and in the program, okay, in the program. And sentinels can be like attorneys, lawyers, and power of attorneys, caretakers, anybody who basically has the ability to write script on a smaller level and protect a person from either a system if it's an attorney, a lawyer if it's like a, a lawyer, protecting a person's freedoms, keeping them protected from being like falsely accused, or keeping them protected from, being taken advantage by the legal system or something like that. And then, so they're on a smaller scale. Now you have something called the corrupted ones, is basically they can be a hater on the low level. They can be a hater. It can be an attorney that sells your case to the other side to make money for a wedding, so they can go get married, and they never actually like worked hard to get that wedding or anything like that. They just like sell your case to the other side so they can go like get married or whatever they're doing. Okay, so on the lower level, it can be a person who obtains like power of attorney, or becomes an attorney just to cheat people, obtains power of attorney just to get assets, or a person who um is, think of like a lawyer who just like doesn't really do his job. What do you call those people? The public uh, lawyers or whatever, and they just not really do their job. And oftentimes they're just kind of like, they see all their clients as kind of like another ticket, but they're still collecting a paycheck from, being a public appointed um, lawyer or whatever. So that is, in a bombshell, the Sentinels and how their programs run. When they are benevolent, they gatekeep to protect. If they gatekeep to not protect, then they're malevolent. If they gatekeep opportunities and stuff like that, then they're malevolent. If they aren't actually somewhere doing what they say they're doing, like if they say they're caregiver for somebody but they're not actually there taking care of the person and doing the cooking, cleaning, and everything else that entails actually being a caregiver, then they're usually probably a corrupted sentinel that has been hijacked by a gold digger. So they usually tend to have a gold digger around them, somebody in their system. It could be one of their kids. It could be like their wife. It could be something along those lines. Okay, and they tend to be hijacked by this person to um, have this pressure to basically cheat others, and they tend to delegate all tasks. All tasks are delegated. Every responsibility is rerouted to another person, but they are hijacked, and they hijacked all the credit for that. So do you understand why, if a sentinel is corrupted, it can be like a very bad. So the wedge programs usually created by the sentinels, and it can be a person who's just like an NPC. They look like identical to everybody else. I would show you right now, literally every single time that I see an NPC, I take a picture of them. uh, and there's actually a family member that I have that has like so many NPCs that look identical to this person. And it's funny because it's incredible. It's incredible how they look like everybody. Absolutely looks like every single person. And she they don't have like the it's she's not Asian. She's not like anything like that. It's so don't think that that's why. No, this has nothing to do with that. This is like a person who just truly looks identical to other people, and the reason being, they are an NPC. They are a wedge program, and they are gatekeepers. They usually know about resources and things like that, but they will never share it with you. Um, they can be scammers. They can just get into access to a place just to basically use that, but they're not actually there to actually add to the place, or because they want to grow from the place, or because they want to, anything to benefit the place or anything like that. If malevolent, they're a hater. This is very true. They can be a hater. They can be behind the scenes saying that you're the meanest person to them, crying, pretending to be victim. They're just not good people if they are indeed corrupted. So then you have the anomaly. The anomaly is a person who's the glitch. They tend to be the glitch in the system. Um, the anomaly survives accidents, attempts on their life. The anomaly survives. Basically, the anomaly has very, very strong firewalls, and the anomaly has even the sentinels have to protect the anomaly. That's just the way that it works. That's the only way I've seen it ever work. Even though the sentinels are kind of can be antagonists to the anomaly, even the corrupted sentinels can't touch the anomaly. It's basically the way that it works, because everything is supposed to protect the anomaly. The anomaly is the only reason that the program is being run. So the anomaly survives accidents, events, others that others would not survive. Okay, anomalies are the glitch in the system. They survive against all odds. Like they are like the impossible is possible with them. Um, basically think Trump, think Trump basically, because he had attempts on his life, and you've seen other people had attempts on their life and they weren't that lucky. So um, the anomaly is always lucky. That is the other situation. Okay, now we have this over here, the like attorneys, lawyers, power of attorneys, like low level sentinels. Those are low level sentinels. Okay, you can have like paralegal. Those are also sentinels. Um, let me think. What else? Um, Security guard can kind of be a sentinel, because anybody who enforces boundaries, laws, or the codes of the system um, can be a sentinel. But there's low level sentinels. That would be the low level sentinel. Here's the high level sentinels. The highest level of sentinel is journalist. I know you were gonna think it was gonna be like a judge on the Supreme Court, but honey, it is not. In this system, the highest type of sentinel you can be is a journalist. You are a journalist, you're writing code worldwide. So, worldwide sentinel system um writes the code into the nodes, okay? They can write the code into the nodes. That would be a wide level, basically journalist. NPC, they show up after reset of a storyline. They are a signal. Usually, it's a signal of a reset. When you have a lot of NPCs showing up, it's a signal that the system has been either reset or there's been some kind of reset. So, signal. Okay, and the other one is the resetters. I forgot to talk about these people, but resetters, they are people who say they spend money, right? And or they have to pay a bill or something. The minute they spend money or pay a bill, they are absolutely losing their mind thinking about how they're going to get that money back. They cannot take the fact that they've lost a penny. If they spend a penny, they gotta gain a penny. They can be benevolent or malevolent, and they tend to use others to get their needs met. So they will basically are the people who are basically like landlords or resetters. That's why the system is so screwed up right now, because you have a ton of the resetters being malevolent resetters, basically. They've gotten so greedy. So yes, very greedy. They're very greedy, and they're anxiety prone. They have no social intelligence whatsoever, so they don't have any like critical thinking to them. They have no like ability to realize when they're like tone deaf about a situation, or when they're being cruel or mean. Like, it doesn't even register in their frontal lobe. They have no ability to like figure out that they're cruel to people. All they care about is their money. Think Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs is a great example of a resetter. Resetters are anxiety prone people. All they care about is counting their money. Think Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge is a resetter. Um, except the happy ending where he actually, turns out to be like a good person. But yeah, they resetters are not good people, and they will also try to push codes onto you where they're constantly telling you like, no, don't go that way, because um you should basically stay, working the rest of your life and give me all your money. Basically, that's resetters. They are very selfish, and they don't think about anybody except themselves. So now you have ID stealers. They're malevolent. They're corrupted programs. They can be gold diggers, and they can reroute codes. Basically, things that maybe were about to happen in your life suddenly get rerouted and happen for them in less time than what it would have had to happen for you when you were doing it like the right way. And what happens is that they block it, and reset the um they basically reset you. And then what they do is that they'll steal your tag in the code, and they reroute the codes into their system. So I had a situation a few years back when I got out of a relationship with my ex, and I was actually like trying to apply for this like housing and all the stuff. And then my son, we were waiting for this grant that the government was gonna like give him to help, because I have a child with disability and stuff like that. And what was crazy is that, I went through this crazy custody battle, which was so unexpected, because my ex never really even wanted much to do with us when we were there. So it was just very strange. And then suddenly he just flips around and decides that he wants to, you know, be a father now. So then what happened was I went through that, and then what ended up happening was that my son had to move with his father, because I had to basically go work and all the stuff to pay off all my debt, and all the debt just from fighting that custody battle was insane. And so what happened was that then this other person, who's a sentinel in my life, who's literally spent like 15 years of her life slandering me, putting codes into the system saying that I'm a bad person, and she literally stole my identification, um, like back in 2000, 2018. No, 2008. She stole my ID, and then she ended up giving it back to me. But uh yeah, that was a big reveal to me that she was not a good person. And then what happened was that this same person literally turns around and rerouted all the codes of everything that I was trying to get, rerouted it, and put it into her own code. And it was so weird, because I had been waiting and waiting and waiting for all this help, right? Because I was down at, like, I was in a very bad situation. I had just left my ex. I was had all this debt. Like, I was, you know, just trying to get help, basically. And what was so weird is that she got it within months after my son moved with his dad. She got everything that we had been waiting for like a year, and she got it within months, and it was so crazy to me. And so what happened then was that I realized, I started to notice the pattern, right? And so yeah, you have to open your eyes, notice things, okay? So um ID stealers are malevolent, corrupted programs that are greedy. They're very greedy. They end up suffering health problems, and here's why. Because they have kind of this like new money energy. Even if the character might be coded as like old money energy, if it's had its program corrupted, it will eat like old money energy. And then what happens is that their span of like like time in the program gets shortened, because they're out there eating all the steaks, they're out there like drinking, they're out there smoking, they're out there like living it up, like it's gonna be their last day on earth, and then it ends up being their last day on earth. Okay. And my grandma actually was somebody that, had her uh she had a tax dealer in her life, and this man hijacked her life. And what you'll find is that they can reroute. So they'll reroute basically. Think about tax dealers as like the home wrecker. Home wreckers are tax dealers. They come into the life of the person, and they hijack it, right? So the whoever it is might have money or something, or an inheritance that's coming to them, so, or something like that. And the tax dealer comes into their life just for the sole purpose of rerouting everything from this person. So they'll reroute their kids to some other family member, or they'll route the person that person was with. They'll route that person away from them, so then they'll have a divorce. They'll route the husband away from the person. they'll so they route you to them, but then everything else in your life kind of falls apart, and that's how you know they are tax dealers. So they are opportunist. They're very bad people, like honestly the worst. And that's they're very like break up your families, stuff like that. So just be careful with them, because they're tax dealers. That's what they're called, and they will hijack you. They hijack you, and they corrupt your files. And what happens when they corrupt your files? If you were a sentinel, that's not good. That's not good. That means you're no longer operating on a like benevolent scale within the system. So now you have the key makers. They're benevolent usually, or they can be malevolent, greedy, needy, stuff like that. Then you have the architect. The architect is protected by high level sentinels, close to let me see. I was trying to say journalist here. Oh yeah, close to the anomaly. Okay, close to the anomaly. Okay. And what happens is that they're usually pro- they're protected by sentinels, but high level sentinels. So it can be like news systems. It can be in fact the there's always kind of a way, I don't know why, but architects kind of always get on the news. And um yeah, they're very interesting, the architects. The architects can code straight into the nodes. They code into this system here, the worldwide Sentinel system nodes. They code that into the worldwide system, and basically, you don't want to piss off an architect. They're the people who have special needs. They're either blind, in a wheelchair, they can't hear. Um, they have something, they have something like wrong with them. And like in this reality. And it's not necessarily that it's necessarily wrong with them, it's just that they're not necessarily part of this reality. They are the spectator to the simulation. So sometimes they don't want to do anything. Think of those like autistic kids that just want to like hold the tablet and they don't even want to walk around, so they can walk, but they just put them in the wheelchair. And the reason is that they have this like very stubborn streak to them is because they know that like in within them, their system is kind of like, this isn't even real. Like, I'm just here to watch. Like, I'm just here to enjoy this popcorn and sit back and relax and watch you all, you know, act. And okay, but you do not want to mess with an architect. Do not mess with an architect, okay? If you mess with an architect, I'm telling you, your demise will be televised. Your death will be televised. Like you're gonna end up televised. Okay? And yeah, because somebody messed with the architect. Like, you got to figure out who your architect is. Not everybody has the same architect, but think about whoever has like a speech impediment. um those people are basically the ones who opted into the watching the anomaly have the simulation play out, because they are trying to see the anomaly have some kind of character arc or some kind of something, uh, to it could have been like that the anomaly passed away in the architect's life out there in the, say, quote unquote, outside this matrix, right? And then now they've made the matrix to create a version of reality where they get to see what would have happened if maybe their life had continued on or gone on and existed, right? If they would have carried out, living. So it's very interesting. The architects are very sweet, kind, and they have a very healing quality to them. And it can also be negative. It can be negative. The architect can really test you in how you value and see others, and how you value yourself, your own ability to persevere, to see yourself as like, um to love yourself despite all your inabilities and disabilities, and all the things that hold you back on a daily basis. um so I think we've talked about everything. Honestly, we did. So that's pretty much. Oh yes, I was gonna talk about loop loop programs. Okay, so a loop program is basically usually coded into the system by the sentinels. Okay, there can be like some sentinel in your life or something. And basically what happens is that this loop system, okay, we're gonna zoom in more. Okay, this loop system is, you can be in a caregiving loop. Okay, loop system, or loop, we'll just say. Okay, you can be in a caregiving loop. You can have, like, you can move from one place to another and just find that you always feel lonely, or you always feel like nobody's really there for you in your life, or you move in with new roommates or whatever, and then it's like somehow, some way, it turns out that it's like people start to put all their responsibility on you. That's a caregiving loop. um People start to, basically, they want you to take care of them, they want you to cook for them, clean for them, and before you know it, you are housekeeper, you are the chef of the household, and you are now like managing all these responsibilities, and you're just manager of all little tasks. And um this is a very difficult loop, especially if it becomes a malevolent caregiver loop. Because what happens with a malevolent caregiver loop is that you basically end up caregiving and you don't get any credit for it. And then what happens is that people end up like using you and discarding you. And then when they discard you, they basically don't, like, you don't build anything for yourself. So it can be like you're there taking care of somebody, helping somebody, right? And you see this a lot with like parents of kids with special needs. It's like they sacrifice so much, right? They sacrifice so much, give up, all this time and all this energy just to take care of these like special needs children, and then the community or society thinks that, um oh well, you should have been working, or you should have been doing this, or we think, because this is the way that the system runs, and there's this like trajectory of on the board game where you should be at this age and this, stage of your life and all this stuff. um and it doesn't really reward, the system doesn't actually really reward caregiving that is outside of like nursing or facilities, or this system of like I forget what it's called, but basically this like the system that they have, medical system, there it is. So for that reason, you can be in this negative loop of caregiving where you're just drained of all your time, your energy, your resources, and your potential, and you don't get to build anything, right? And you can also be like deprived of money, which was something that happened to me when I was in the last relationship I was in. I had absolutely like no money, but yet I was like caregiving and taking care of this whole household and like doing so much. And by the end of the day, it was like, sometimes I wouldn't even see my ex for 2 weeks. I wouldn't even see him, and we were somehow still in a relationship, or at least he was telling me that we were. And so, yeah, and be careful and beware of anybody who codes in this, like who has a profession in coding in the system, because if they have a profession in coding in the system, that usually tends to mean that they are actually uh, very much part of the illusion destruction. Uh, let me say those words again: illusion, disruption, and part of methods to keep you stuck within this matrix. Okay, so you can be in a caregiving loop, like I said. You can also be in a um you can get in a lot of loops. Okay, that's just the one that I've seen, that I've experienced. And what happens is that, by the end of a negative caregiving loop, you end up with nothing, right? Like the situation that I had was where I basically got a relationship with my ex, and then what did I have to show for it, right? There was, he never married me, so I didn't even have a ring that I could like pawn or sell or something, so that I could actually, like maybe even pay off some of my debt after he came after me for um custody of of our child. So yeah, you know there's nothing to show for it. So you are in a malevolent caregiving loop, or maybe even a malevolent wife loop, if the people around you aren't helping you build. Okay, they're not helping you like invest in things, or they're not helping you to become like self-sufficient, basically. And that is very, very important for you to notice. Okay, um the glitches, yes, there can be glitches within the system. Sometimes the glitches are the biggest with the sentinels. um the sentinel system nodes, that's where you will see the biggest glitches. And then the anomaly tends to have a lot of glitches. NPCs have a lot of glitches, because but NPCs, it's more like they might just repeat themselves a lot. And NPCs tends to be like teachers, can be a lot of teachers can be NPCs, because of the fact that it's a very repetitive job. So if you are operating from a position of like educating, um and you're running on these repetitive programs, you can basically see a lot of like NPC codes within those programs. So that's it, you guys. I think that's everything that I was gonna talk to you about. Um, I I can't think of anything else, but take care of yourselves, and I hope this video maybe helps some of you to realize like what you're going through or what you're in. Um, and to help you read your own energy, right? Your energy, the energies of others, and to help you decipher like who people around you are. And yeah, take care of yourselves. And I wish you the best. And, you know, start noticing this stuff. Start paying attention and take care of yourselves. Bye.